America's love affair with pickup trucks is as strong as ever, but while those big, decked-out trucks are flying off the lots, the smaller, more affordable pickups have practically disappeared. It's not just about shifting tastes or new technology. There's a deeper, less obvious reason behind this trend. Today, we'll be looking into why finding an affordable small pickup is becoming nearly impossible. Pickup trucks have been woven into the fabric of American history for over a century. When Henry Ford introduced the first pickup truck, he wasn't just building a new type of vehicle. He was answering a need. Farmers and workers needed something tough enough for the fields, but comfortable enough for Sundays at church. That truck, the 1917 Model TT, cost just $600 at the time, about $11,600 today. It was simple, practical, and built with purpose. Since then, pickup trucks have evolved in ways Henry Ford probably never imagined. In the U.S., nearly 80% of new vehicle sales are now trucks or SUVs, a sharp rise from just 53% in 2010. But despite this surge, one type of truck is becoming increasingly rare: the small pickup. Car companies hardly make them anymore, even as demand for smaller, more practical trucks keeps growing. The basic blueprint of a pickup truck hasn't changed much. The Ford F-Series, the best-selling vehicle in America for decades, still follows the same formula: an engine up front, seating in the middle, and a bed in the back. But while the core design remains, modern trucks barely resemble their predecessors in simplicity. Take older compact trucks, for example. The Nissan Frontier King Cab was as basic as it got. 2 seats in the front, tiny fold-out jump seats in the back, and a 5-speed manual transmission. 4-wheel drive, just pull a lever, and all 4 wheels got power. No screens, no extra buttons, just a tough little truck built to do a job. Modern pickups, on the other hand, are packed with technology. When GMC introduced the 2019 Sierra and Sierra Denali, buyers could even opt for a carbon fiber bed. The new Ram 1500 comes standard with a 5-inch touchscreen, Bluetooth, and voice command. It also includes keyless entry, power door locks, and power front windows. Features like these might sound convenient, but they also add more things that can go wrong down the line. Engines have followed the same trend towards complexity. While some models still offer traditional engines, turbochargers and mild hybrid systems are becoming more common. Trucks are more advanced than ever, but they've also strayed far from the straightforward workhorses they used to be. But the worst thing about them isn't the size, the tech, or even the gas mileage. It's the price. It's no secret that everything costs more now, and trucks are no exception. One of the issues started when demand shot through the roof, but production couldn't keep up. Chip shortages, supply chain issues, and fewer workers meant fewer trucks rolling off the assembly lines. Meanwhile, buyers were lining up, desperate to get their hands on one. And when there aren't enough trucks to go around, dealerships see an opportunity. Suddenly, prices weren't just climbing, they were skyrocketing. Markups of over $15,000 weren't uncommon. To put that in perspective, trucks were being advertised for sale at way more than their original sticker price. A basic no-frills model from the big three used to go for around $30,000. Bare bones, nothing fancy, just enough to get the job done. But good luck finding one of those on a dealership lot. When dealers know they can move $100,000 pickups, they aren't exactly rushing to stock the cheaper ones. Pickups have become too complicated and way too expensive. So when Bloomberg reported that truck sales, which had been booming for years, actually started to decline, it wasn't exactly a surprise. People simply can't afford a basic pickup anymore because, honestly, a basic pickup doesn't exist anymore, and the problem isn't going away. Trucks are only getting more advanced, lighter, and more capable, pushing prices even higher. But here's the real reason small trucks have nearly disappeared in the U.S., and it's not because of what Americans actually want. You see, any car company wanting to sell a small truck in America has to build it right here in the U.S. And that's all because of something called the chicken tax, a tax that, contrary to what the name suggests, was not created by a government of chickens in the 1970s. It all goes back to 1964, when small trucks started gaining popularity in the U.S. Around the same time, a trade dispute broke out between Europe and the U.S. over, you guessed it, chickens. In response, the Lyndon Johnson administration slapped a 25% tariff on 4 things: European brandy, dextrin, potato starch, and small trucks. That last one stuck. And to this day, the chicken tax still makes it ridiculously expensive to import trucks built outside the US. This is where things get tricky. Tariffs, just a fancy word for taxes on imported goods, have a way of distorting markets. It's not the car company's fault, at least not when they aren't lobbying for their special protections. The real culprit is the government, which has kept the chicken tax alive for decades. Because of this, automakers can't justify selling small trucks built in Asia or Europe, where many of their factories are located. It's just too expensive. So instead, if a company wants to sell a small truck in the US, the only real option is to build it here. And here's the problem. America just doesn't love small trucks the way other countries do. Travel to Europe, Asia, or Latin America, and compact trucks are everywhere. Trucks most Americans have never even heard of, like the Mitsubishi L-Series, or the Ford Ranger, the one sold overseas, not the US version. There's even the Volkswagen Amarok, which seems like a solid little pickup, until the unfortunate moment one realizes that changing the timing belt requires removing the entire front of the truck. This creates a massive headache for car companies. If a company wants to sell a truck both internationally and in the US, it has to build it in two separate places, which is the last thing automakers want to do. Most car companies aim to do the opposite, one factory making one model for every market. Nissan, for example, is the undisputed champion of this strategy. Every vehicle they make, built in Smyrna, Tennessee. Seriously, ask a Nissan representative where their cars come from and the answer is always the same. Smyrna, Tennessee. Trucks, sedans, who knows, maybe even riding lawnmowers. But even if automakers could get past the production issues, there's another major roadblock. Americans don't want to pay what it costs to make a small truck in the US. If these trucks could be built somewhere like Nicaragua, they'd be cheaper, but American factories come with higher costs, including union contracts that ensure every work hour includes 18 minutes of smoke breaks, 24 minutes of lunch breaks, and 9 minutes of bathroom breaks and 4 minutes of hard alcohol consumption. Take the 2016 Chevrolet Colorado, for example, the last small truck General Motors will ever make. Starting price, $24,900 with a V6 and an automatic. Now compare that to the full-size Chevrolet Silverado, which starts at $27,400, also with a V6 and an automatic. That's just a $2,500 difference between a tiny little truck that might get a guy laughed at in Mississippi and a full-size, tough-looking truck that earns instant street cred. Now, if the Colorado had a V6 and an automatic for around $19,000, that'd be a different story. But with just a $2,500 gap between the smaller, less capable truck and the bigger, better Silverado, even the most die-hard small truck fans would have a hard time justifying the purchase. And this is the heart of the issue. Car companies don't want to make that basic $19,000 work truck because full-size trucks are just too profitable, the kind of profit that would make IKEA jealous. This despite IKEA's entire business model being selling wood in a box for $50 and making customers drive to a massive warehouse to pick it up. So, why would an automaker sell that $19,000 small truck when they know they can push a $27,000 full-size truck instead? They wouldn't. These companies aren't stupid. But after all that, the real question is, why don't automakers just bring back a small, affordable truck? These days, the so-called smallest trucks aren't actually that small. A lot of drivers have noticed that today's mid-size pickups are nearly as big as full-size ones from a couple decades ago, and that's got people reminiscing about the old mini trucks from the 80s and 90s. Those compact, no-frills pickups that were easy to park, cheap to run, and actually fit in a garage. Some buyers, especially men between 38 and 58, say they'd jump at the chance to buy a truly compact pickup again, something smaller, more fuel efficient, and affordable. But here's the thing. They're forgetting what really made those trucks so popular back in the day. It wasn't just their size, it was their price. Take 1989, for example. Chevy's cheapest car, the Cavalier, had a starting price of $7,375. A perfectly fine car for what it was, but for just $99 more, someone could drive off in a base Chevy S10 instead. And if a guy between 18 and 34 had that choice, chances were high he was picking the S10. It was a similar story with imports. Toyota's cheapest car, the two-door Tercel, cost $7,338, but for just $660 more, buyers could get a Toyota pickup. Nissan buyers could either go with a basic two-door Sentra for $6,849 or spend an extra $700 for the legendary hard-body pickup at $7,549. Given that option, most people went for the truck. It wasn't because these trucks were powerhouses, they weren't. Most had small four-cylinder engines barely making 100 horsepower, meaning they couldn't tow or haul much. Their interiors were as basic as it got, and the ride quality left a lot to be desired. But if someone was young, probably a guy, and didn't have a lot of money, a pickup truck just made sense. It was more practical, more fun, and let's be honest, a lot cooler than driving a Cavalier or a Tercel. Fast forward to today, and those same people still want a truck over a car, but now they just can't afford one. The cheapest pickup Chevy offers today is a base Colorado extended cab, starting at $20,055. Meanwhile, that same Chevy dealer sells the Spark LS for just $13,000. There's a real opportunity here for automakers, but they've got to keep the price down. If that means building a front-wheel drive truck on a car platform, then why not? This isn't about towing capacity or horsepower. It's about giving buyers a genuine alternative. Chevy guys aren't looking to tow a ski boat. They just want something other than a Spark. Ford fans might not be able to afford an F-150, but that doesn't mean they want to drive a Fiesta. Give them a tough-looking pickup that starts at $15,000 and they'll be sold. Both parts of that are equally important. A lifestyle truck that looks too soft won't cut it. Keep it simple and make sure the price stays well below the current mid-size trucks. At that price, profit margins would be tight. The average new car in the US now costs over $34,000, and even those don't always rake in huge profits. But in the long run, these small, affordable trucks could be worth it. They could revive a segment that disappeared nearly 30 years ago and, more importantly, get young buyers hooked on the brand for decades. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.